It's going to be a very, very intense journey.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Frameskip. This is episode 63. I'm one of your hosts, S. Like House, joined, as always, which is the most untrue thing ever, by Elijah Steele.
Yep, I'm always here, every time, just lurking in the background.
And George Loftus. What's up, buddy?
No nicknames this week for anyone?
I almost called you George Charles Manson Loftus.
Yeah, my hair is out of control.
For no reason at all.
Seth is just going to start giving everybody serial killer names.
Elijah Wayne Gacy.
It's funny you mentioned that, but in a way, I have a tie to John Wayne Gacy, which is a comic book.
It's not really a tie, and I just need to be clear to listeners that it's not a tie.
in a one-shot issue of Wonderland, John Wayne Gacy is in it.
That's not a
Elijah sold John Wayne Gacy the axe.
It's not a tie. It's like
with a comic book.
It's like me being like, I have a tie to John Wayne Gacy. I've got a pack of balloons in the kitchen. You know, it's like,
and it just has his initials on it for some reason.
Yeah, there's some old clown makeup in my bathroom. So yeah.
On that note,
it's gonna be one of those episodes, everyone.
This episode is gonna be John Wayne crazy.
Let's start off the episode with a question from one of our friends, Raynor1337, or Adrian, if you prefer. That's what he wrote down. He said, I just have to have a reply to the things you guys said about the Steam Deck. Well, I'm in the majority and won't get one. I think it would be a great system to play some games that are more portable friendly, like Hades and the Final Fantasy games coming out on Steam. It's also pretty cheap compared to a bunch of other handheld PCs. Plus, according to Linus from Linus Tech Tips on his podcast, you can install Windows, Linux, and other operating systems, and would be a great emulator. Anyway, those are my 2 cents on it. P.S. I'd love to be on the podcast if you can spare a guest, Elijah, and vouch for me. I'm pretty sure he might.
Can. He's a cool dude.
Elijah and vouch.
Or it was desperate, and it was like, Elijah, man, vouch for me.
Yeah.
It's a problem with emails. You can never really get tone.
So I'm curious. He said he's in the majority and won't get one. Well, I think it's true that probably the majority of human beings will not get a Steam Deck. I think it's a weird thing to say.
No, I get it, because I think there was a lot of excitement around this Steam Deck, but I also think we're getting smarter as an audience, and we're really good at regurgitating news points, which is who is this for?
Yes.
And I think the who is this for was pretty compelling. Like, this really seems like a niche device. And like, I was thinking about it more today. And Adrian, or Raynor 6, was there a number?
1337.
1337, apology. Oh, Leap, got it. Okay. Right? Is that
Oh,
Leap?
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Okay, cool. I think you're totally fair with your critique of our critique of the Steam Deck. I think Coach said he was really excited about it once they get like the Dolphin emulator to run on it, which I 110% agree with. But I think this device is most valuable to people who are really invested in a Steam library. And so it's like, if you already have a Steam library, and like, I've had Steam for 12 years now, and like, I've got maybe a dozen games, you know, like, I'm just not super compelled to grab this. And like, every game that I want to play, pretty much except for real-time strategy games, is also available on other platforms. It's just kind of a pain to play them compared to on a PC. So I think that was like where we were sort of coming from, especially after like a new generation debuted. This is $50 more, I think, than like the OLED Switch, which I find this a lot more compelling than an OLED Switch. But at the same time, like, the Vita was only $50 more than the 3DS, and how did that turn out? You know,
Right.
And so I personally, I can't speak for Coach or Austin. I didn't mean to sound down on it, so I apologize if that was.
Vita turned out to be an amazing handheld device that should have blown the competition away, but
yeah, it was
not good there.
Blame Sony for that one, buddy.
It was almost as good as the PSP. I've really come around. Sorry, I used to love the Vita, and now I'm all about the PSP. So I didn't mean to sound down on the Steam Deck. I don't think anyone was down on it, but it was also like, man, I just bought an Oculus. Man, I just bought a PlayStation 5. Man, I'm planning to buy a Series X. Do I really need an additional several $100 device? And do I need to like invest in a new ecosystem when I've already invested in these other ecosystems?
So for me, I'm like 50-50 on the Steam Deck because my current situation is that I can play my Steam games from anywhere already with Steam Link. And it works really well as long as you have a stable connection. But because it's a PC, there's weird things that happen all the time, right? And if something weird happens on your PC at home because you're essentially just remote playing into it through a remote desktop connection, it'll just like probably 5 times this week I've had a situation where my PC, I've been trying to play Final Fantasy 14 remotely from my Steam Link, and I'm not home. And I'll try to log in, and all of a sudden it'll freeze, shut down, and then it'll go offline. And when I come home, my computer is on the login screen. So it actually crashed my whole computer and made it restart. And I don't know why that's happening. But it's like one of those weird PC quirks, you know? It's like weird stuff happens on PCs sometimes, and you always cannot account for it. So as far as that goes, like Steam Link works super well to the point where I feel like I don't need a Steam Deck, but also I'm like, man, if I had one, I would have to deal with any of this. I'm talking zero latency. Like, I don't know. I'm really interested in it. I did end up getting on the pre-order as I was finally able to put the $5 down and get in that list. So I'm excited for that. When the time comes, maybe I'll buy it. Maybe I won't. I don't know.
Now, I wasn't here last week to be able to give my... I got my reserve and that the day it went up. The Steam Deck is perfect for me because, like, I play my consoles at the same desk I have my computer. So if I'm choosing between console or computer, I'm going to play my PlayStation or Xbox or whatever. But what the Steam Deck is going to be perfect for me is not like the new AAA games coming out and such, but the exclusives that just don't quite come out on other consoles. Like I was looking through my own Steam library, and there are so many games here that I'm like, you know what? When I get a Steam Deck, I'll gladly try this out while I'm laying in bed or whatever. And also, I'm a huge fan of FMV games, and there are a ton of them on Steam. And that's the perfect kind of game. It's like, oh, I want to lay in bed, because it's almost like, you know, watching an episode of a TV show before I go to bed, but just kind of having my choices impact the show. So, like, different stuff like that. There's so many horror games on... For example, I just heard of one today called, I think it's Draft of Darkness, that comes out at the end of this week. And it's literally like a deck-building card survival horror game, which sounds awesome.
God, you're such a nerd.
Yes, I am. But, like, that is the perfect thing that I would play on handheld, not on my actual computer. So that's why the Steam Deck is going to be perfect for me. It's going to be all these, like, smaller games and not so much the big AAA games. They're going to come out on everything. So if I want one of those, I have a console dedicated to it, whatever. This is going to be perfect for the games that don't require, like, all this technical prowess or anything like that. And I'll play a lot more of my Steam games that way.
Now, Elijah, have you tried Steam Link?
I haven't, because, and granted, I haven't tried Steam Link, so I can't, you know, I hear you say it works really good. Every other wireless thing I've tried has not worked great. Whether it be, and as shocking as it sounds, actually Stadia worked better for me than xCloud. xCloud I have had problems with. I can play Halo Reach, but only if it's on, like, an easier difficulty, because that allows me to get hit a little more from the game kind of fudging up. But even Stadia, I haven't had a good time with. And there's all a mixture of trying on Wi-Fi, just on my normal phone connection. I think I tried Stadia on my PC once even, and it didn't play the best. And I'm like, you're literally plugged in to at the time it was like 200 megabit internet. Why are you still doing this? So like, I granted, like I said, I haven't given Steam Link a try. I just have been so burned by these streaming options. And even remote play on PlayStation. I'll be laying in my bed doing remote play and being like, why is this not working great?
That's really funny because like I've had great experiences with PlayStation Now, and I don't think I noticed it as much. The only game I've ever remote played, and like it worked pretty amazing because I was like 2 miles away at the school I was going to, and like I left my PlayStation 4 on at home, and I was playing Skyrim. And granted, I was god level in Skyrim at that point, so like nothing really affected me. So I didn't notice any sort of lag. Like I chalked any sort of like damage I took as up to like me playing with friends, drinking beers, playing on my laptop. Like I was just like, oh, we're just messing around. Like this isn't real. And so because like I totally see the appeal of Steam Deck. I think it's awesome. I think it's nifty. One thing that doesn't concern me, because like I don't really care, to be honest, but the whole like mentality about like if you're not hustling, you're losing. Like if you're not like being productive every second of every day, then you're just like sort of like failing. I kind of like the ritual about games and the fact that like Switch is obviously an exception, but like I mostly play my Switch docked these days anyway. But like just the idea of like sitting down to play games as opposed to like having a handheld thing where it's just like, oh, it's bedtime, you got this. Why don't you get a couple rounds in of something? Like it's just like the idea of like it monopolizing your time. And I think phone games are specifically designed because they know they're just like little mess around things. At least the games I play, like I don't play anything too intense on my phone. It's mostly just like puzzle games or like Angry Birds or something. But like the idea of like this being just like a full gaming console where like you can't escape intense gaming situations at any moment now, like that. Again, I don't find it concerning. It's just like one of those things where like I don't know if I want that. Like I don't know if I want that limitation erased from my gaming diet right now. Like my gaming structure, how I like to engage with the hobby. So because of that,
I understand.
I'm less interested too.
I understand exactly what you're saying because I struggle with playing bigger games portably too, where I'm like, man, how much time do I have to dedicate to this? If I sit down, do I have 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, where I'm going to sit there, I'm going to mess with this thing. I'm going to have to like get it started up. I'm going to have to go through the loading screens and whatnot. And I'm like, by the time I get everything done, I would just rather browse through Facebook or Instagram or something like that. Yeah. But I will say, this actually leads right into one of the things I want to talk about this week was like, I spent this week dabbling in all the different streaming services. Well, not all of them. I can't play xCloud because xCloud doesn't have compatibility with your PC yet. But I was messing around with PlayStation Remote Play, Steam Link, and Google Stadia. And out of all of them, I found that Google Stadia works the best by far. I played Google Stadia. There's a game on there called Chronos Before the Ashes. It's a prequel to Remnant from the Ashes, which is a game that I love very much. And it's a Souls-like, but not as hard. I would call it like a Souls-light almost. And
cute.
Yeah, and it works great on Stadia. I was having a blast with that. And then there's another game I remember vaguely hearing about, like Pixel Junk Heroes or something like that.
Oh yeah,
that game sucks. I mean, that's legitimately terrible. I hate that game.
I mean, I assume that's like Pixel Junk Shooter and like same family as all those, like the PlayStation
I would imagine.
games.
That's my guess.
Yeah, I agree. I want to. I'm like really glad it's there, but man, just again, like zero interest in checking that stuff out again.
Yeah, not fun at all. I played that. I really tried to play that for a while, and then it just wasn't happening. But Google Stadia actually has the Elder Scrolls Online that is available for purchase, and I already have an Elder Scrolls Online account that I was pretty far in, so I bought that on Google Stadia, and I was playing it. I'm like, this is pretty sweet, because now I can just play Elder Scrolls Online anywhere, and I was playing over a 4G connection, so I was like, wow, that's actually pretty cool and a very handy little thing. Here's my problem with Google Stadia. The Pro service is $10 a month, but the games themselves are pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like discount games. You're essentially paying $60 for any game you want to play. And for me, that's just way too much money, because although I will say, yes, it worked very well, it's not the optimal experience, and it never will be. The optimal experience is going to be downloaded or disc in your console, playing directly and not over a stream connection. So I do have a problem with Google Stadia charging full price for their games on top of the monthly fee. But other than that, yeah, it did work pretty well, to the point where I'm barely able to notice any latency at all. Steam Link is the second one. I would say in second place with that. Steam Link works. When it does work, it works pretty well, depending on how strong of a connection you have, the low latency.
Sign out like of your computer.
That's what I'm saying. When it does work, when it does work, it works pretty well. And at this point, when I'm playing over Wi-Fi, like last night I was laying in bed playing Dark Souls 3. I don't notice any latency on Steam Link at all. And then in the last place, very clearly PlayStation. Remote Play just has what it seems like a quarter second input delay that you cannot work around. That there's just almost nothing you can do to get rid of that quarter second input delay. I've tried playing from my computer, which is hardwired into Ethernet. I've tried on my phone, and I've tried on my Vita TV, and there is just it seems like however that system works, it's just going to have a quarter second input delay no matter what, which pretty much removes the ability to play anything that requires fast reflexes, like a shooting game or a racing game. So that does suck. But thankfully, that's not a problem as long as you have a strong connection on the other two services. Like I said, I haven't played xCloud, and I know Austin has previously stated that the remote play is a lot better on PS5, but I can't confirm or deny that.
Oh man, that's funny, because like I had pretty positive experiences doing it on PlayStation 4, like to my MacBook. I do think it's interesting though, just because like you look at things like shooters on PSP, right? Like I'm thinking like Resistance Retribution, which was like a generally well-regarded game, but like they had to build it differently to compensate for the fact that you only had like one thumbstick, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering, like, because streaming is seemingly the future of games, right?
I would imagine that's what they're banking on.
So, like, is this going to influence game design going forward? You know, like, is there going to be like a PlayStation, maybe not remote play, but maybe like a streaming exclusive shooter game, or like an xCloud exclusive shooter game that's built inherently different because of the mechanism of its delivery, you know? And it's like, that's, again, I don't care. Like, I'm not concerned about it. I don't care. I think it's interesting to think about, though, about like how technology has always influenced games, but like, what about like the way you engage with games? Will it change that?
Yeah. I think it's going to have to, because I do think that's the reason we have smaller hard drives this generation than we should. Obviously, less than a terabyte on PlayStation 5, I think, is insane. But I do think that PlayStation and Xbox are both banking on their respective streaming services in order to carry them through the generation and not have to worry about storage. The problem with that is that, yeah, it doesn't look as good, and I just don't think it's not going to. You know, that's just the thing that you have to come around to, is that it's just not going to look as good. Having a steady 4K stream that's 60 frames per second over video that's streaming, 300 miles away or wherever the closest data center is, is just not feasible. So these things do get downscaled, and you do see some pixelation once in a while, especially when the connection gets choppy. And if that's the case, and then they want to go towards that, then what was the point of upgrading our consoles to begin with? Because all these beautiful games that are coming out, well, they're not going to look that beautiful. They're going to look mild at best. So I don't know.
So I just wanted to give an update on the whole. I don't know if you can see my phone right now in the video. I have remote play on my PS5 up right now,
Scarlet
which
Nexus.
is right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten a little lag. And it's like, why?
Yeah. Now, are you connecting via? Now, I think direct connection is only available through Vita, isn't it? I don't think you can do that on your phone. You might be able to.
Yeah, I don't think you can with your phone. I think it's only over Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sitting right next to it, and it's overall working well, but I am getting some lag.
From my experience, PlayStation's lag is something that you can compensate for in something like RPGs, but it would be almost unplayable for something like a Twitch shooter or a racing game.
Yeah.
Before. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting because I do think streaming is the future.
Unless you're playing,
I don't think the
Burnout
United
3.
States has the infrastructure. Yeah, Burnout 3.
Sorry, I think I've got lag on my podcast, but like, unless you're playing like the best racing game, then it won't be a problem.
The best racing game, yeah. But yeah, I think streaming is the future. I just don't think the United States has the infrastructure. Maybe someplace like South Korea, streaming would work a lot better, where they actually took care of their data lines, and it didn't have AT&T guzzling up money that was supposed to go to data lines. But...
Yeah, and I have a data cap, so
yeah, the data caps are interesting because I recently found out that Comcast was planning on bringing data caps to my area, and then they pushed it back to 2022. So I was like,
Man, I had data caps in San Francisco, and it sucked. Like I had to like specifically plan out when to download my PlayStation Plus games. Like it sucked, and like it basically got to the point where I had to pay like an extra $40 to $50 a month because like my girlfriend was working from home. She was streaming TV all the time. I was streaming TV all the time when I was doing work from home. And then I would like try to download or play games, and it just like, oh man, like, okay, I guess I'll download Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the 1st, as opposed to like, the day it came out, because I was already so close to my data limit. And like, it sucks, man. And like, they lifted the data cap during like the first months of COVID. And it's like, you could have always done this. And you chose not to. Yeah, no, I knew they could. But like the fact that they did, it's like you I'm sorry, Austin, you sons of like, why? Why would you put like this fake artificial limitation? It's not water. Like, we're not going to run out of internet, you dumbasses. Like,
no, we're not. And dude, the data cap thing makes me so angry because, yeah, this is something that is 100% negatively affecting everyday life for people, because our lives revolve around internet now. Like, more and more people are constantly cutting the cord and not watching, network television. They're watching their Netflix or Hulu or whatever. So they are bringing in massive amounts of data. And it's something that, despite these old lines that these guys never fixed, they should be able to handle. And they're like, oh no, this only affects the top 0.5% of people that are taking advantage of the system. Yeah, BS. Like absolute nonsense.
No, man, I had to pay $50 because I downloaded Master Chief Collection and Halo 5 like the month I got my Xbox. I just had to pay extra that month. It sucked.
Yeah,
it sucked, and I'm like on Spectrum now, which thankfully doesn't have any data caps, and so I'm just going like hog wild, man. Like, I'm always like, yeah, I'll download that update right now just in case they implement data caps tomorrow. Like,
yeah, I don't blame you.
I have an Xfinity phone service right now through Comcast, and I am so sure that my unlimited data plan is going to get capped at some point that I'm just like planning out when I can switch to Google Fi, because I know Comcast is going to screw me at some point. It's a matter of time, right? Yeah. Comcast, AT&T, worst companies in America. Literally, like, these guys are the big evil companies in America, and I know that at some point Comcast, because I have Comcast internet too, they're going to screw me as well. And then that sector, because they've already done it. I had 20 megabit per second internet at my old place. That's all I needed, right? That's all I needed. I didn't really care about anything more. And it was originally $50 a month, and they kept raising the price until it was like $70 a month, right? And then when they raised it to 70, they sent me a little packet of information that had all the data plans, and at $90 a month, I could get gigabit internet. And I called the guy, and I was like, okay, so you guys absolutely just swindled me. For $20 more a month, I can get gigabit internet. He's like, yeah, I get that a lot. I'm like, of course you do. Yeah. Of course you do, because you guys are absolute criminals. What do you want me to say?
Well, that, and like with the data cap stuff, I was paying like $170 a month, like whenever I went over. So like my normal plan was like $120, and I kept looking at it, being like, what can I cut? I was like, I should just cut cable. And then like I was getting like, you know, ESPN, MTV, like I was getting like all the stuff I like wanted. And then I like talked to a guy about like, okay, so how much like would it really cost to like get rid of this and like just focus on internet with like unlimited, like true unlimited? Because like you could just pay an extra $50 a month and not deal with data caps. Mm-hmm. I was like, all right, so like what would I have to get rid of to make it so that with the data cap limit, I would still be paying what I'm paying now? And he's just like, honestly, if you cut all your cable, you'd be saving $17 a month. I'm like, just get the hell out of here, man. Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, for 17, yeah, I'll watch every football game. I'll watch every like local basketball game. Like, screw you guys. Like, or it's things like, this is always my comparison. It's always like to healthcare, where it's just like x-rays were invented in like the 1870s. So why does it still cost $150 to get one? You know, like, shouldn't they be $10 at this point? $5? I don't know, free at this point? Like, it's just such like an ingrained thing in like medical science, x-rays, and it's been done for a century and a half. And like cable is like really not that different. Like internet, I guess you could argue it's like, oh, it's only been around for 30 years. It's like, okay, sure, I guess that's the same. But it's like, dude, like, aren't things supposed to get easier? Aren't they supposed to get like more affordable? And if it's not, like, shouldn't your service at least be more reliable? Like, I had so many outages with Comcast. It was almost daily. Like, it was preposterous. It was ridiculous. I was so furious. But my landlord signed an exclusivity deal where I could only get Comcast in that building.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting, man. And you know, I'm very much a libertarian and stuff. I want the government to kind of just stay away. But in this case, I do think, like, if we had any non-bias, paid out government officials, they could step in and, you know, be like, hey, you guys need to stop whatever you're doing, because you basically got Comcast and AT&T, and they're huge monopolies. And anytime anyone else tries to use, or tries to build up an internet company, like Google tried this, they file lawsuits against them to halt that progress.
Well, that, and they have like non-compete clauses, right? Like,
yeah.
Spectrum was Time Warner. I don't know how many international listeners were boring to death. We got a Brazilian fan, right?
I'm not sure.
Maybe. I don't know. But just the fact that like I could only get Comcast in San Francisco because they signed a non-compete clause with Time Warner to never have Time Warner there. And it's like, doesn't that really sort of like defeat the whole capitalist market everyone says they love so much if you're not even going to invite competition? And like New York is Comcast, Boston is Comcast, LA is Time Warner, I think Philly is Comcast. You know, like, it's just like every city has been carved up by these multi-billion-dollar telecommunication companies. And there's
in my area, you can only get Service Electric Cablevision. That's it. I can't get Comcast or anything even.
I've never even heard of them.
There's a reason.
That's ridiculous. And sorry, like, I know we've like gone off like a super tangent, but it is all related, and it all does sort of like go back to, I don't know if we have the technology to really support streaming. And it's just one of those things where like, I don't want to knock the ambition of people who are trying to make it an improved service, but like I just don't think we're there yet. Like I think it's probably going to be like another 15 years and like major public policy shifts to actually.
Oh
get
yeah,
there.
absolutely. It's like in order for the United States to handle something like streaming, as far as like the main way we play video games, it's going to require, like I said, the government to step in and stop AT&T and Comcast from doing what they always do, which is cashing checks to politicians and stopping competitors from rising up. Like they single-handedly stopped Google Fiber from expanding across the United States. And Google Fiber was, I think, like $50 a month or $100 a month for completely unlimited
something
fiber
like
internet.
that. It was super good.
Yeah, and it was awesome. And AT&T and Comcast were like, yo, hold up. We can't have you doing that right now. And that was Google.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, thank you for saying that. Like what's the opposite of hopeful? Hopeless? Like
despair.
Yeah, like if one of the biggest companies in the history of the world can get shut down by those jackasses in Philly, like it's just like, oh my god, like what hope is there? You know,
Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
It's frustrating.
It's super frustrating. That's why we're all just gonna move to South Korea, where they care about internet.
Yeah,
I'm in.
and honestly, like I subscribe to PlayStation Now. I've got like a decent enough experience, but like if I'm playing a game I really enjoy it and it's like a PlayStation 3 game, like I want to go on eBay and see how much that game costs. You know, like it's basically just like my demo station at this point, which is dumb to pay for, but like they know it because they made every PlayStation 4 game downloadable on PlayStation Now, you know?
Oh, really? Every single one?
Every single one.
Wow.
Well, every single game that's on the service. Sorry, I don't.
Yeah.
But like you can download that to your PlayStation 4 or your PlayStation 5.
I did not know that.
And
Wow.
And
the
it's only
PS2
PlayStation.
the
Yeah.
PS2 classics are downloadable as well because they're the PS4 versions.
Yeah, and so it's like
Interesting.
literally just PlayStation 3 games that can't be streamed.
Listen, I've had great experiences with I don't want to say streaming services, but like the subscription services for gaming. I mean, Game Pass, EA has their thing as well. EA's one is great because like you get
Oh yeah.
all the EA games for I think it's like $5 a month, and that I have like Jedi Fallen Order and Battlefront 2 on my PS4, and like that's awesome. And of course, Game Pass goes without saying, but yeah, I've had great experiences with those things. But I'll probably start. I need to start cutting down because my bank account is just draining super quickly right now because I have so many subscription services lined up. Like I think I have 4 anime subscription services right now, and I'm like, because me and my girlfriend are both huge anime fans. I'm like, hey, listen,
Bro, just get a VPN and just torrent.
Well, yeah, but ever since I started making like actual adult money, I've tried not to be scummy with
No,
how I do things.
I understand. I say that, but like I haven't torrented anything in like 10 years, so like I
Yeah.
completely get it. And also,
Yeah.
like what sucks is like I'm with you because like I'm subscribed to like the DC Comics app. I'm subscribed to the Marvel app, but man, I can only use one at a time. You know, like and that sucks. And that's another reason why like the Steam Deck, I'm like, well, I can't do that before I go to bed because then I just won't ever read comic books anymore, and I can't justify the subscription to Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah. I just realized I was subscribed to Amazon Music the other day, and I have no idea how that happened. But apparently I'm subscribed to Amazon Music.
He has so many subscriptions, he doesn't even know all of his subscriptions.
I don't. Like, I have to go through my bank account and look at all the subscriptions. I think I'm subscribed to ESPN, and I don't know why. So,
You probably got it for a fight one night.
probably. So, yeah.
'Cause that's how my brother-in-law got subscribed to ESPN Plus.
Elijah, I have a question for you
Yes.
while we're about to switch topics. When does Doki Doki Literature Club get good? Because I swear to God, I'm like an hour and a half into this game, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't really care about any of this.
What is the last thing that... How many poems have you written?
2.
Okay. So you're about 2/3 of the way before the turn.
I mean, I keep hearing everybody. I've never heard a single bad thing about the game, but I'm telling you what, this is pushing me to my absolute limit of tolerance. I'm sitting here, like, reading this story, falling asleep every single time I try it. I can only handle it in, like, 45-minute blocks.
That's fair. The first, depending how long it takes you to get through it, between 2 hours and 2.5 hours are very, very schoolgirl visual novel.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just schoolgirl dating sim visual novel, and I'm like, I don't think I can.
And then it hits the fan.
That's what I hear.
Thank you for being so delicate about the game to talk about it without talking about it. And I especially love that you had to ask the question sincerely, how many poems have you written?
I figured that was the best way to figure out, all right, this is roughly where he's at.
Super
which
diplomatic.
means, it's one of those games, if someone drops off before it happens, I totally understand, because it can be hard to get through. But at the same time, the first time I played it, I'm like, I know it gets weird, but also I need to be nice to Yuri. I really want to hang out with her more.
Oh
That's
yeah,
right.
I like Yuri too.
That's really funny though, because that's like how like Alfred Hitchcock talked about suspense, and he's like, it's not suspenseful to show a bomb blowing up a family eating at a dinner table. It's suspense to show them eating dinner, and then to show the bomb counting down, and to keep cutting back and forth between the family eating and everything being normal, and seeing the timer go down. Like, that's suspense. Anyone can blow up a table. And so it's just like, you know something's going to happen, and so you're just like, I assume it's almost like exhausting, just like waiting in anticipation for things to turn.
Is it now? Is it now?
That was strange. Is this the beginning? Like, is it happening? Like, it sounds exhausting.
Yeah. So the weird thing is that there's almost nothing strange that's even going on. It's just a pretty typical schoolgirl dating sim. And I'm like, okay, well, so like in this, after the second poem that I wrote, there's like some drama that's going on. Like these girls are like arguing, but I'm like, this is a classic high school environment. So there's nothing weird that's happening at all so far.
So there has been the occasional weird thing, but unless you know basically the outcome of the game in a way, you don't recognize that at the beginning. Because like the second time I played it, I was like, I noticed, I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, there is some stuff going on, but just because you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yes, because you don't know what you don't know, you don't know.
Very descriptive and helpful.
Hey man, we gotta be conscious of spoilers for our listeners.
I wouldn't be so like gung-ho about this game if I didn't genuinely think that it's all worth it.
I had to stop my girlfriend because she kept dropping, like, she gets really excited about things and she wants to tell me about them. And I'm playing through Doki Doki Literature Club, and the one girl popped up and she goes, "That's the one you gotta watch out for." And I'm like, you can't tell me that. You gotta stop. I'm like, you please, like, I understand you're excited, but like, if you tell me, I'm not gonna experience this again.
I also will say, what are you playing it on?
PS4. No, I'm playing it on Steam through my link on the couch. So
okay. Do you have the free one or the new one that came out?
I have the free one.
Good.
Why?
That is, like, if it is someone's first time playing, that is the one you want to play.
Why?
You don't know yet.
I'm just gonna melt down.
Once you finish the game, you'll understand it so much more. This is
so frustrating. It's like telling someone to watch your favorite show, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm trying," but I'm like, 3 episodes in, I'm just not feeling it. It's like, well, it gets really good in season 3, and you're like, dude, screw you, man. Like,
yeah, the only difference is season 3 of a show is like 10 more hours.
Yeah,
I think I finished my first time playing Doki Doki. When it was all said and done, it was like 4.5 hours.
Yeah,
that's still like a big commitment.
Yeah.
Well, when he's already an hour and a half in, roughly.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That is
and
contextually. Well, it's just like if you're reading a book you're not into, you're like, but it's only 120 more pages. But it's like, it's supposed to be a really good book.
Dude, do you guys want to hear about one of the great Austin Eller betrayals of all time?
I do now.
Which one?
Yeah. Austin Eller, our co-host and producer,
who we love dearly,
once convinced me to watch Hunter x Hunter, the anime. And it's like 120 episodes long, dude. And I was watching it, and I'm like, all right. Austin's like, you love DBZ, you love all these shonen anime. If this is the one for you, you're gonna love it. I'm like, sweet. So I'm watching arc by arc. We're talking about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not really feeling it yet, man. He goes, just wait. And every arc, I message him. I'm like, yeah, I'm still not really into it. And then I get through like the final arc, and there's like 10 episodes left. I know I've watched like 110 episodes of this show so far, right? Like I am deeply committed to these last 10 episodes. And I'm like, yeah, that last arc was kind of a letdown too, man. I'm not really sure if I like it or not. He goes, then he texts me and goes, yeah, you're probably just not going to like it at this point then. Like, oh no. I never finished the last 10 episodes of that show just because I'm like, okay, this sucks. I hate
principle of the matter at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it's only 40 hours of my life. It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm like 10 episodes into Hunter x Hunter. It's fine.
It's all build up and no payoff is what it is. Like the fights are very disappointing to me.
It's just edging the anime.
Yeah.
Isn't that the like description of shonen? It's all build up. Most of the time there's a payoff.
No? Yeah, most of the time there's a payoff. It is a lot of build up, but dude, there's always a payoff in good shonen. When Goku turned Super Saiyan and started blasting Frieza,
I didn't mention good shonen. I just said shonen.
Yeah, true.
I'm not an anime guy. I'm not going to pretend to be. Like,
Start being one. It's not too late. It's not too late to be a better person.
No, it's fine. Like I love Gundam. I've forgotten more about Gundam than most people will ever know, and I'm cool with that being my thing.
Turns out he has Alzheimer's. severe dementia.
What was Zex Marquise's mobile suit called? I've watched the first 3 seasons of My Hero, and I've watched the first 10 episodes of Hunter x Hunter, and I really can't tell a difference between those two shows.
All right, well, get out.
Well, no, it's just Hunter x Hunter just seems like My Hero. It just, structurally, it seems like the same show, but I'm more interested in that than I am My Hero.
I've come to acknowledge I'm not really into shonen anime. I like DBZ, but that's it.
My thing with My Hero that I think is absolutely wonderful and fascinating is it's the Japanese take on Western superheroes, and I think that is just so fascinating and interesting. All Might's attacks are named after states. He's essentially the Superman of that world, and he's like, oh, Wisconsin smash! I'm like, the person writing this has probably never even seen Wisconsin. but he's like, that's exactly what an American would say.
Most people outside of Wisconsin haven't seen Wisconsin.
True. But and then there's dudes that have there's a guy named Best Genist, and his whole thing is that he shoots genes out of his hands. His whole outfit is a giant gene suit.
Well, he's not in the first game.
That's awesome. What were we talking about?
Yu-Gi-Oh was shown, right?
Yeah, I think technically.
Okay, then there is a second shonen I like.
Yeah, I think technically Yu-Gi-Oh is a shonen.
The two angriest I've ever been at entertainment. One is Twilight, and I think it was the 4th movie. My girlfriend and I, we did a marathon one Thanksgiving because they were all on Amazon Prime. We just spent all day cooking and just watching movies and just got day drunk. And it got to that final battle, and it turns out that final battle was just a twinkle in someone's eyes.
Movie 5.
That was movie 5.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that's probably the most frustrated I've ever been in my entire life at entertainment. And then the second most frustrated was during Yu-Gi-Oh! When like they had like the Battle City tournament arc in season 2, and then it just ends, and then it goes into season 3, and they like stop to like refuel the blimp, and I'm like, all right, man, hell yeah, we're gonna see the showdown. And then they get sucked into a computer simulation, and the entire season is just them trying to get out of a computer. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Like they just had like a 50 episode like stall to like wait to figure out what was happening like with Merrick, and I'm just like, I hate all of you so much.
It's funny you say that because that's the exact same thing that happens in Hunter x Hunter. There's a giant arc dedicated to them getting sucked into a computer game.
Is that real?
Yes.
God damn it.
Yes, that's
as soon as George hears that, he just drinks the rest of his glass. I don't know why.
God. I'm just gonna get super drunk and just watch Evangelion again. Like it's just one of those things where like, well, I'm depressed now, so I'm gonna go get depressed. Or
that's another anime betrayal where everyone told me to watch Evangelion, and I'm like, well,
at least it's like 26 and done, you know, like
26 and done, and then. Again, Austin Eller told me I had to watch the 3 movies after it, and I'm like, I'm not doing this again, Austin.
You've already burned what good faith you've had.
So wait, who's betrayed you more? Because I feel like Elijah probably recommends more video games to you, and Austin recommends more anime to you.
Not really, because I fully will say I really enjoy this game. It's a bad game. You won't like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
He does say that.
That's why, like, Doki Doki Literature Club, that the fact that I'm saying get to this point is showing him I actually think this is worth it, like, legitimately.
I'm like still in the doghouse with my girlfriend because I recommended she watch a movie called Gross Point Blank like years ago. Because she's like, I can't sleep, I don't know what to watch on Netflix. I'm like, Gross Point Blank, great movie. And she's like still mad about that. And like I'm so flustered because like I think that movie's fantastic.
Is it like an artsy movie or something?
No, it's John Cusack is like he like disappeared his prom night and like joined the military and then like became a hitman. And then he like goes back to his high school for his 10-year reunion while people are trying to kill him. And so it's like him trying to like maintain a secret identity in his old high school, seeing his old friends while also dodging hitmen. Like it's like a dark comedy. It's real. Like I love that movie. I think it's great.
Speaking of John Cusack, there is a John Cusack movie I really want to watch again, and I cannot for the life of me remember the name of it.
1408, Runaway Jury.
No, that 1408 is great. That
hotel movie that he's stuck in a hotel and he can't get out of it.
I love that movie.
Isn't that 1408?
It might be. No. That's a different hotel. I was thinking like Identity, I think is the...
Oh, wait, that might be the one I'm thinking of. Is the one where he has like multiple identities and one of them is killing the other identities?
I mean, it sounds like it. You also just described Jet Li's The One. And kind of slander.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
But while we're on it, The One,
great movie.
Fantastic movie.
Great movie, dude.
Fantastic. Like the end of it where he's just standing there on the hill with everybody. It's just like, come get me, and Blood Brothers by Papa Roach starts playing.
Has there ever been a bad Jet Li movie? I don't think so.
Forbidden Kingdom.
I honestly think his worst one might be Lethal Weapon 4.
No,
Mummy 3 was...
Jet Li blesses everything.
It's better than
Mummy 4.
Better than most movies.
4.
No, it was Mummy 3.
Where he was the dragon guy?
Yeah.
That's definitely...
I haven't watched a Mummy movie.
That's definitely
that
3.
Came out when I... Dude, I'm about to settle.
But no, this John Cusack movie, it's super good. It's basically, he has like 9 different identities, and one of them is killing off the other identities. And the identities are basically getting together to try and figure out who is doing it. I love that movie. I saw it once, and I'm like, this film is great.
All right, so like I said, it's The Mummy 3.
Yep, just like Seth said.
I actually don't think it's Identity. I think it's a different one. Ironically, I think it is The One. I think that's what you're talking about.
No, that's Jet Li. God, I love that movie. I can't remember who are the 2 guys going after Jet Li.
Jet Li.
What was
Jason Statham? That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and his partner gets killed. That's why he Jason Statham is all
I gotta ask a question before we go any further. Wasn't Samuel L. Jackson a scary butler in 1408?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Well, he ran the hotel.
That's what I thought. He was like a scary. He was like, what are those
Bellhop?
Bellhop. That was what I was looking for.
Concierge.
Concierge is a great word. Remember in The Office when Michael Scott thought they were hookers?
Yeah.
Oh my god, so good.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything you guys want to talk about before we wrap the show up?
Did you guys play any games this week besides like Doki Doki?
Before we do that, it is Identity. Strand at a desolate Nevada motel during a nasty rainstorm. 10 strangers become acquainted with each other when they realize that they're being killed off one by one. I think I may have spoiled the movie by saying they're all him.
Oh, God.
Oh, well, there you go. You guys don't have to watch it anymore. We did you a favor.
You just reverse Doki Doki'd everyone.
I didn't say who the killer is.
The reverse.
I didn't say who the killer is.
I mean, it's John Cusack, right?
To answer your question, George, I did. I played a really cool new game. It's new for me anyway. I don't know. It's really fun. I'm really enjoying it. It's called Final Fantasy 14.
I played a really cool new game. It's called Warcraft 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna like it a lot. It's really grabbed my interest, so I'm gonna keep playing that.
It's like on sale right now. Also, like we gotta talk about the problem with these sales that they do. There's like over 1,200 items on sale on PlayStation Network. Like,
oh yeah, and you try to go through the list, and you're like,
it's too much, man. Like,
I think I bought 3 of them, and I'm like, whoa, I'm gonna stop there.
Like, before I get too far. Enough things. Like, I'd say 200 is like your max. 200 things a week, and then just do like a rotation. That will get people to come back each week to see if the thing they want is on sale the next week. 1,200 is just too much.
My mind immediately went to when you're like, I think 200 is the max. I'm like, George, I'm not buying 200 games.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, dude, because sometimes I'll open PlayStation and look at the sales, and I'll just go down like the list of just games, and I'm like, I don't even know like where to start with some of this crap. Because a lot of it is just crap.
Yeah,
they put on sale,
And if I get bored looking through your sale list, like I've spent so much money on video games, and if I get bored looking through everything you're offering at a discount, like you messed up. Like you turned me away by giving me so much, and it sucks when you like load up like
Ron.
Yeah, when you load up the Switch and it's like 972 items on sale. It's like, dude, get the hell out of here. Like no, like I'm not looking through all that.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I don't know if I'm like scared to say this idea out loud because like I don't want it to happen, but like there needs to be like creators or like some kind of like influencer who has like curated lists. Like there has to be some sort of better way to like discover games because it is so bad.
I think the way to go about it is to just have. I think the Colin and Greg years ago talked about this on Beyond, like a panel of people that just curate things that come into the PSN.
Yep.
Because it's overflowing with absolute garbage. Same with Steam and same with like the eShop. Because the bar is so low to create a video game and put it out. Like the bar is super low. You're
saying that Hentai versus Evil should not be on PSN?
Is it good? Is it?
No, it is terrible. But I got one of the platinums in it.
Dude, one of my favorite things like of all time is that I open Steam and I have like the adult game like filter turned off, and when I look at the top sellers, no matter what, there is always an adult hentai game in the top sellers on Steam. Always.
I thought he was going to go with, I always have my adult game filter turned on, and for some reason I can't see my library.
Well, it's just like nice. It's just like did you guys watch that Netflix show I Think You Should Leave? Like that sketch comedy show?
No, actually I just heard about that the other day.
It's really funny, and like each episode is like 10 to 15 minutes, and it's just like sketch after sketch after sketch, and like they know exactly when to dip out of something before you lose interest. And like it goes by really fast, and it's just like absurdist humor. But there's like one sketch in the new season where it's like, those like appeals you'll watch on TV where it's just like Comcast is trying to get our channel eliminated. Call them and let them know that you want us around. Like, it's one of those guys, but like the channel he's representing is called Coffin Floppers, where it's literally just bodies falling out of coffins. And it's just him advocating.
That's amazing.
Sounds
Him
awesome.
advocating about how important it was. And they're like, they just keep saying we're not a show. We're just an endless stream of people falling out of their coffins. And it's just him like trying to appeal to people to get them to fight and petition for it. And like that's what it feels like going through like the PlayStation Network sale, where it's just like, here's $100 for in-game currency for some game you've never even heard of, and it's just like, come on, guys. Like they need to do that. They need to like really get down on like their filtering. I think that's probably the biggest issue. Where you like even if you select full PlayStation 4 games, like it doesn't show you all the PlayStation 4 games, and like it doesn't make much sense. So that was one frustration why I didn't play a lot of games this week. I played probably a half hour of the original Jak and Daxter on PlayStation 4 because I was in like a platforming mood still after getting the Ratchet and Clank 2016 and the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart platinums. I was like, I'm not done jumping around and collecting things yet. I want to see how far this goes. And then I played like an hour of Jak and Daxter. I'm like, all right, I think I'm good for now.
Now I'm done. Now I'm done platforming.
Didn't you say also though that was the first time you played Jak and Daxter?
Yeah.
Okay, this is gonna sound ridiculous. That series doesn't get good until the second game.
I totally believe it. I completely believe it.
The series doesn't get good until the third season, I swear.
Well, also, I don't know, like I read you could like platinum the first game in like 9 hours. Like that was like why I started. I'm like, all right, I've never checked out this series before. It'd be interesting to see what Naughty Dog was doing before Uncharted and like between that and like Crash. And I was just like, yeah, from like a gaming history perspective, like I should play this game. It's just really outdated. Like it's just hard to play a game that is so purposefully 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 2021, you know.
But in the second game, it turns into an open world shooter, which is ridiculous to say.
Yeah, and then don't they go into like combat car?
Yeah, that was
Jak
X. I never played that, but it's funny because every once in a while, these games in the mid 2000s had like notoriously difficult levels. Like I think didn't the Getaway? No, yeah. Or it was the first Driver had like the open tutorial area that was like super hard to get through or something. Jak 2 has these vehicles that you drive. It's like a hover bike almost from Star Wars. And there's a level that you have to get to it in a certain amount of time. And it's like notoriously almost impossible to do that. And it turns a lot of people away. It's like halfway through the game too.
It's just like the Battletoads level of like the 3D gaming era. That's neat. So I was a little frustrated with that. I want to go back and platinum it because like it is so mindlessly fun. Like in that regard, like I'll totally give it up. And like I generally like the art direction, so I'm gonna check it out. But dude, honestly, I've watched the first 2 seasons of Baywatch since the last time I was on the podcast, and that's been sucking up most of my free time.
That's amazing.
The first season is like amazing. Like the first season is surprisingly good. The second season really goes off the rails, where like one of the lifeguards has a concussion and like knocks himself out, and then he dreams that he finds Gilligan and Marianne from Gilligan's Island.
Oh wow!
And then just like the rest of the episode just like takes place in like a Gilligan's Island-esque world. It's just insane.
All right.
But yeah, I cannot recommend the first season of Baywatch enough. The first episode's a little rough because it's like a made-for-TV movie, and it didn't get picked up, and then another network stepped in, and they made some changes. But that's how I've been spending my free time lately, you know, productively.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you feel about the wonderful and much beloved Baywatch remake with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
I really liked it. I actually wish it got, I think it deserved more due. I think it kind of came at like a weird apex of comics because that was like done the same way like 21 Jump Street was done. And like it just seemed like they were trying to like, you know, keep riding like the revival train. Mm-hmm. I think that movie should have been way bigger than it was.
But let's just, you know, finish up with Elijah. What have you been playing lately?
So really the 2 games I want to talk about are, I started Everspace, which I've wanted to play for a while, and I really like it.
I played it on Stadia. It sucks. I'm sorry, continue.
I don't have the words to continue after that. No, I really like it. It is a like space combat game, but it's a roguelite. So like you get money and stuff while you're doing it, and then once you die, you can upgrade some stuff and then go back in, start your run again, rinse and repeat, roguelite. But I enjoyed my time with it. The big one I want to talk about is I played and beat the first run of Scarlet Nexus, and I'm just about done with the second run of it. Because there are 2 story routes, and I did one route, and now I'm about done with the second route. And that's how you get like the full story, because you have these 2 characters that get separated at times. You're learning like their perspective on certain things going on. For example, the one character goes in and talks with someone, and it's kind of as a trick so they can record it. And because I played as the other character first, so I had no idea that was going on, when all of a sudden they just said, guys, turn on the TV. And they do, and there's this video footage from that conversation. And now I'm playing around as the other person, and it showed me going in and planning, all right, we're going to do this. And then he goes in and has this conversation. And it's real. I love the story in this game. By the time I got to phase 10 of their 12 main phases, I'm like, I need to finish up and I need to see what happens here.
I heard the ending is super long, though. Like MGS4 level of long.
It is very long. It's not MGS4 level, but it is very long. Nothing's MGS4 level long.
Dude, MGS4 was like
or
2.5 hours.
MGS3.
Well, MGS3 was okay.
MGS3 had like 2-hour-long cutscenes that were split up by just cutscene end, next cutscene begins. Why was it split up like that?
Probably so you could go take a piss. I imagine.
That's fair.
In Final Fantasy 14, they're like, hey, there's a lot of content coming in form of cutscenes. You should set aside a block of time. And that's how you know I'll come back to this tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what happened to me last night. It's like, just so you know, this dungeon's probably going to take a while. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to save it here, and I'll do it tomorrow night after the podcast, because I'll have plenty of time before I go to bed. I'm on the final fight of Heaven's Ward.
Nice. George, what were you saying?
I was going to say the 2-character perspective is like such an awesome idea.
Yeah, and it works out really well.
I wish more games would do this. I wish more movies would do this, honestly, where it's like you get like a pseudo sequel, kind of, you know, like it's almost like an expansion pack for the movie you just saw. I think that's so clever, and like that makes me want to check the game out. I am not the target audience for this game, but like just the fact that they're trying something like that, I'm like, I'm interested. You're getting your little hooks in me, guys.
This game is anime AF.
Yeah, just wait, because the gameplay is super fun, but it's a Bandai Namco game, so like I'm gonna wait until it's $20. It'll be $20 in 3 months.
Yeah.
So.
But it's like super good. The gameplay is fantastic. I love the story. I love the characters. Right now, this is kind of like Resident Evil is still my game of the year, but this crept a lot closer to that than I ever thought it would. I love this game. I'm going for the platinum, and I highly think it's worth playing.
Can you believe that 2021 is over halfway over?
Right?
I'm still not convinced it's not March 2020.
I know, right? Yeah, it's really strange.
Oh, and talk about a Doki Doki literature plot twist. It's actually still March 2020.
I'm not going to talk about it yet since I didn't beat it, but I am playing one of my 3 backlog games. You guys made your 3 backlog games on the podcast, to which I responded and said, I'm going to do 3 as well. And I'm currently playing Ninja Gaiden Sigma on my Vita.
I don't think I was here for that episode, and thus I had no idea what was going on.
George.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like just us one night, and we weren't really sure like,
Andie.
what the topic would be. Yeah, Andie too. That was super fun.
So I'll just put it out there, since no one else heard of that. My 3 games are Ninja Gaiden Sigma, The Bourne Conspiracy, and Shadow Hearts.
I love that Born
Shadowheart.
Conspiracy pick.
I played a couple chapters of it back in the day. And I'm like, this is fun. And then must have gotten distracted or something. Just never continued.
Now, Elijah, when you say you're in the final fight of Heaven's Ward, are you in the final fight of Heaven's Ward or the Heaven's Ward patches? Big difference.
Let me put it this way. When the card comes up for like Heaven's Ward 2-2, which I think is for a trophy or that, which is the final Heaven's Ward, I'm 96% of the way through.
That means so little to me.
I am at Azisla, and I'm at the very end. Like everyone, like Ishtola and Estinian and everything is like, we'll hold them back. You go.
Okay, that's the final fight of the Heaven's Ward base game.
Yeah.
And then you still got the patches to go
Yeah.
through, which are really fun. Yeah, okay.
I always consider the patches like just like 0.5.
Yeah.
So like I'm at the end of Heaven's Ward, but I haven't started like the 0.5 yet.
Yeah.
I haven't worked on the epilogue yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially. The 40-hour epilogue.
Yeah.
So,
Don't worry, I hear
right.
it gets really good at hour 38.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Kind of.
I loved Heaven's Ward. I love that expansion.
Yeah. Heaven's Ward's great. It's essentially Final Fantasy IV, but in 3D form.
I think all the DLC is on sale on PlayStation right now.
Probably is, because
Like, I
the
think-
new expansion's coming out.
I think you could get like Heaven's Ward and like Stormbringer, right?
Shadow.
Stormblood.
Stormblood or Shadowbringer.
I think
You
can-
only need to get one of them.
I think you get them both for like $35.
That's probably a marketing thing, because if you buy Shadowbringers, you get all the previous DLC with it.
Even Heaven's Ward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'll just buy that then. That's it.
Oh, there is one thing I want to talk about before we close up the show. I see everyone talking about Pokemon Unite, but no one talking about how Pokemon Unite is 100% pay to win.
So I have seen some people talking about it,
Yeah.
and yeah, it is definitely pay to win, but apparently it takes like so much money to do it.
Well, I watched. Are you guys familiar with Moist Critical?
Nope.
He is this old school YouTuber. He's one of the top channels on YouTube. And he's one of the top streams as well. But he's like so funny, dude. When you watch his like videos and stuff, he's got this really dry, deep voice. And he was just sitting there playing Pokemon Unite.
His name is Moist Critical,
Yes.
and he has a dry voice. Okay, just wanted to make sure the irony. Okay.
He's got this really deep voice. Like, he's part Asian, and sometimes like it seems like the genetics work out weird, and people with Asian backgrounds get like a really deep voice. That's him. And he's super, super funny. I can't speak highly enough about this guy's content. But he realized that you could pay for upgrades in Pokemon Unite, and he's like, well, let's just see how far this goes. And he just kept for like 2 hours straight, just kept buying upgrades until he couldn't upgrade anymore. And then went in and was just one-shotting their whole team. Just absolutely massacring them. He said he spent like $300 or $400 on it after all was said and done.
Yeah.
That's
It's ridiculous.
they announced like a new Magic the Gathering expansion exclusively for Arena. And it's like really exciting because like it's just digital cards that could not exist physically, like on paper. And so like that got my attention because it's like a Masters set where it's like a completely curated set where it's like them trying to like sort of put their thumbs on the scales for like the meta and introduce some changes. But like the set is like 700 something cards. And it's like, dude, do you have any idea how many packs you'd have to buy? Because like there's no easy, cheap way to like grind. Like you just get like a couple packs, you know? Or you can spend money and buy 100 packs. And even then, like,
yeah,
the way, like, there's no dusting system, but there is like every time you open a pack of cards, you have like these wheels that fill, and you can use those to create these things called wild cards, which then can become any card. But they're all for the different rarities. So there's like a mythic wild card, a rare, uncommon, and common. And it's just like you have to open so many packs to be able to get rares. And like all the good lands are rares. And that doesn't even get into like all the good spells that are also rares. So you just have to constantly be opening packs to get the wild cards to create the cards that you were not lucky enough to get by cracking packs. And it's like, it was hard enough in a set that had like 200 cards to get the ones you wanted. And so just 700 cards is just ridiculous. Like,
so many.
Again, like it's just the greed is just so apparent.
Isn't Magic Wizards of the Coast?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, see, I've really not liked what Wizards of the Coast has done in the last 5 years with D&D and with Magic, and I haven't played Magic, but I just keep hearing all these awful things about like Magic the Gathering, and it just seems like they're very, I'll call them wallet bleeders.
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it.
Yeah. Speaking of money hungry, last Tuesday Final Fantasy 14 was down for maintenance, and I was like, I want something to play to scratch my Final Fantasy itch. So I was like, you know what? I haven't played Dissidia since it came out. So I popped into Dissidia NT. I'm like, I wonder if it's still as bad as it was back then.
Yep.
So I went and I was looking at like the skins for the characters and whatnot, and I'm like, oh, they have Ystrola's new Shadowbringer skin. How much is it? I looked, dude, it is $15 for just the skin of Ystrola.
Yep.
Just the skin is $15.
That's actually cheap compared to most games where you buy skins for characters, which is the crazy thing.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it is.
Disgusting.
Yeah, and if you're listening and you think that's not that bad, I really like this character. That's great. Like I don't mean to tell you how to like spend your money, but keep in mind that like most games are $60. So think of everything you're getting for the cost of the game. And then keep in mind you're getting one costume for a quarter of what you paid for the entire game.
Yes.
Like that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
And it sucks because the game's not even good. The game sucks. Yeah. And like Square Enix just will not let this like esports fad thing go, because they're doing it with Final Fantasy VII now. With like they're making like an arena shooter.
I'm actually really excited about this one,
dude. It's not what the Final Fantasy fans want, though. Like,
nope. I wasn't asking for it. I'm gonna play the crap out of it.
No, they want Crisis Core HD, right? Like that's what Final Fantasy fans want.
Yes. And they're making Crisis Core. They're remaking it as a phone game. Square Enix it's always like one really cool step forward, and they tumble down the staircase.
My favorite was Square Enix said they would think about bringing the Final Fantasy 1 through 6 pixel remasters to console if there was enough demand for them.
Oh my god!
And it's like everybody knows, like, what do you mean if there's enough demand? Literally everybody is asking for this, and you gave us what literally nobody was asking for.
Dude, I really just want to go to Square headquarters and like get the executives in a room and just beat them all up. And just beat them all up. Like, not like viciously like attack them now, but like bully them. Like start stuffing their heads in the toilets and whatnot and be like, you've ruined 20 years of my life with Kingdom Hearts. I'm sick of it. I don't know. But what were they saying? Oh yeah, Dissidia. They were like had 2 great PSP games, and they brought them to modern consoles, and they're like, you know what people want? A 3v3 esports game.
Yep.
And then like, oh, it didn't sell well, it got really bad reception. We're cutting the Dissidia line. No more Dissidia games. And it's like, I'm telling you what, buddy, these wedgies are coming.
If you want a game that's like in that fashion, just play Gundam Versus.
Yeah,
like Gundam Versus is for all intents and purposes just 3D Dissidia.
Yeah.
By the way, George, we should play Gundam Versus soon.
I am just so bad at that game, but yeah, we should.
It's fine. I played Gundam Versus on PS3 and PS4, and it's okay.
And like, I don't want that game. I want a story-based like Gundam Unicorn game, basically, or like Hathaway's Flash, like whatever they want to like adapt into a game. I want like a good Gundam campaign. I don't want like a metaverse fighter, you know? But
yeah.
It's amazing.
You gotta support what you can.
It's amazing that Gundam is so big, despite Bandai's awful way of marketing Gundam.
Yep.
And the merchandise for Gundam. Like,
well, it seems like it's in capable hands in the West now, because like it feels like Netflix is just like the shepherd of the brand now. Like, still more series are available on Hulu than they are on Netflix, but I assume that's just like existing deals that are probably not going to get renewed, and like those shows are probably going to shift. Like Gundam Wing is on Hulu, but not Netflix. But like the original movies have been like remastered and like resubbed and stuff, and like those are on Netflix. And they've got Unicorn, and they've got Gundam The Origin, I think. Like it is, I can't remember which is on which and which is on the other. But like they're making the live action Gundam movies, so like I assume that they're just going to be the destination going forward. So hopefully give it the brand recognition it deserves, and then like there will be more demand for cool games. But yeah, like it's just
I just want you to think about how long it's going to be until we get that live action Gundam movie, considering it's being made by the person who's doing the live action Metal Gear Solid movie.
All right, so never. So never. Okay, great.
I don't know. I mean, there's like already a shot for shot version of Metal Gear Solid that he has a lot of inspiration to draw from, you know, like pretty sure there's like legit storyboards that he could just be like, what if we just did this? I mean, do you guys think it's going to be an original story, or do you think he's going to
it's going to
Shadow Moses, right?
It's going to be the Shadow Moses story, I'm betting. It's going to be very interesting in movie form, because it doesn't matter what game or that. When they bring it to a movie format, they will change the story up to make it easier for the common viewer to get into the movie. So what's that going to do for Metal Gear Solid?
All right, Elijah, carry us home. I gotta pick up my girlfriend so she doesn't get stabbed by a crackhead down the street.
So, and before they steal more packages, I decided to look at our good friend Austin's Steam profile, which first up, apparently he decided to use an achievement from Doom as the main thing on his page. So when you go, it just says toxic in big letters.
You're toxic.
Thanks, Britt.
Come slipping over.
So you see this chat on the side of Zencaster. Here is Austin's review from December 10th, 2012, Terraria. Seth, why don't you read this for me?
Okay, how do oh my god. Oh my god, it's amazing. That's it.
Now,
Idiot.
oh no, it gets better. It gets so much better. George, for you, I want you to read from May 5th, 2013. Austin reviewed Star Wars Battlefront 2. You ready for this?
Get this game because it's awesome. Man,
also, just
as
so
an English major, that like really that sentence hurts my feelings.
Just so people know, the words "get" and "it" are the only things spelled correctly. Another one of my favorites is his newest one from June 4th, 2017, for the game Vanquish. This game was crafted by God. He has a very long, he has those reviews, and then he has this very long write-up for Arma, as if it were an article. It's 3 paragraphs. And that's in between, this game was crafted by God, and get this game because it's awesome.
How is he the first one of us to be engaged? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, how is he convinced another person first that, like, they should spend the rest of their life with him?
That's pretty sweet.
Also, we're pretty sure Austin owns more games on Steam than all of us combined.
Yeah,
he has 516.
That's like
325 DLC.
That's like how many PlayStation games I have across Vita, PlayStation, like PSP, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and now PlayStation 5. That's impressive.
Well, I can tell you I have 56. Elijah, how many do you have?
I have 250.
Because we're not friends, because you never added me on Steam, which is really nice. It's really cool. And then Coach here.
Honestly, I'm not on Steam enough. I had no idea we weren't friends.
Coach has 165 games. So
that's pretty impressive.
So yeah.
Coach I think I'm GB Loftus. I think I have like maybe 11 games.
Coach played 158 hours of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. That's more hours than
well, now we know what to talk to him about the next podcast. So, Coach, What were you doing? Oh, and perfect thing for Steam Deck. That would be perfect for me to play more Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Because that's something I would want to play handheld more.
All right, do you want to pay it, or do you want to play it for $400?
I mean, if that was the only thing I was going to play, then it would be different. But that's just one of the games that, like that. I want to play the Stalker games. I'll totally play those on Steam Deck. There are apparently 3 of them, and apparently each of them are like 40 hours, which I did not see coming.
It's just, all right, we're going really long, and I'm really sorry, Austin, and I'm really sorry, Seth. I know you guys got to go soon, but like, there was the whole like PlayStation VR 2 reveal, like for the controllers or whatever, and like my first assumption was that Half-Life Alyx was coming to PlayStation, right? Because like those just looked like its HTC Vive was like the Valve headset, right? And so like they look just like that. I'm like, all right, it's like those types of intense games are going to be compatible. And then I got really optimistic, thinking like, oh, maybe this will usher in a new era of Valve on console games. And then like I see the Steam Deck, I'm like, oh, like no, it's not happening. Like I just want to play Portal 2 on my PlayStation 5. Like just update, just upgrade, remaster Portal and Portal 2 and Half-Life 2. How has it never been possible to get a trophy playing Half-Life? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that about wraps it up this week. You guys have any closing comments, concerns?
I'm going to go buy some cigarettes.
I'll just say on August 11th, I'm doing a birthday stream on my Twitch, and I'm going to
in your
stream...
birthday suit.
What up? What up?
Twitch won't let me, otherwise I would in a heartbeat. And I'm
hot
going
tub.
to be playing Corpse Party Blood Drive.
Cool. Very
doing
cool.
terrible voice acting for it.
All right, guys. George, anything?
No, I'm gonna go buy cigarettes. That's
all right.
That's all
very
I got.
Good.
That's all you need.
All right. Well, guys, remember to follow us wherever you're listening to the podcast and leave us a review if it is available to you. And write us in some questions at bit.ly/frameskipq. That's bit.ly/frameskipq. And until next time, I guess we'll see you guys next week. Take care and play some good games. Smoochies.